Hey, good morning everybody. It is a Monday morning. We got a 24 garage slab to do. Kind of a tricky spot, but I think we can get this truck in here. We got two trucks coming, 14.5 yards. The builder actually set up the slab for us, so he got all the forms in place, put the styrofoam in, a couple rows of rebar around the edges. Did a really nice job forming it up, putting bracing on. A little bit, actually, probably more than what we would do, but it should hold pretty good. And we got 3,500 PSI concrete. We got fiber mesh going in. All he wanted was fiber mesh in a slab like this. So that's what we're doing today. Truck's just showing up, as you can see, at 7 in the morning on a Monday morning. I'm gonna get him mixed up and we'll be right back with you as soon as we start pouring. Hey guys, today we're gonna be talking about a few things, but one thing in specific we're gonna talk about is money and how much money the builder saved himself by forming and prepping this concrete slab for us to pour. So when I charge for slabs, you know, usually people hire us to come in and they have the gravel work done, so that we just show up and there's a flat gravel pad, and then we put up the forms, we lay the styrofoam if it calls for that, you know, we'll put in whatever reinforcement the spec calls for, and that basically gets the slab ready to go. And then we come back and we'll pour it, power trowel it, you know, saw it and finish it. So there's kind of a few stages there, and then obviously there's the concrete part. That's usually one of the most costly parts of the whole deal. So when I price stuff like that, like I'm pricing the concrete for a job like this typically is around $4 to $5 a square foot is what I figure. You know, and that gets me a 6-inch slab with thickened edges, like haunched. We call these haunched edges like this, these trenches around the outside. So that covers my concrete, not only just the cost of the concrete, but the, you know, the tax, and then maybe just a little bit of 10% profit on the concrete. So about $5 a square foot. And then when I figure the prep work, you know, us showing up, putting up the forms, buying the styrofoam, installing the styrofoam, buying the rebar, putting the rebar in. A lot of times the spec will call for wire mesh. This one called for fiber mesh in the concrete with just that double row of rebar around the outside. So that part of the prep work is basically another $5 a square foot. So you got concrete, that's about $5, and then the prep work, the form work, that I figure about $5 a square foot. And then to hire a crew like me to come in and just pour and finish is usually at least $5 a square foot, and that includes, you know, getting the slab poured, getting it leveled, bull floated. If you need ankle bolts, we'll put some ankle bolts in for you. The power troweling, getting it nice and smooth, and then the sawed cuts. So saw and contraction joints after we power trowel it. So in all, that's about $15 a square foot to get a slab done like this. So let's just, at 24 foot by 24 foot, that's 576 square feet times 15. That equals $8,640 to get a 24 by 24 slab that looks like this, at least in our part of the country, Maine. You know, we're out in the back country here, so I generally figure about $200 a square foot, $200 a yard for concrete is what I generally figure. Now I usually end up being able to buy it for less than that by the time I add the fiber mesh to it and then the sales tax. You know, it's up there. It's not exactly 200, but it's pretty close to that. So we use a 3,500 PSI concrete. We got micro fiber mesh in it. We got mid-range water reducer in this today, and we have a little bit of air entrainment in it. So that's our basic garage floor mix right there. It looks like we're about halfway. I don't know, it looks a little shy of halfway, but sometimes that happens on these slabs like this. I did order a yard more than what the guy figured, and then I figured it, and it figures about 13, a little over 13. I got 14.5 yards, so I don't know. It's kind of hard to figure with these angles sometimes, but we'll see what happens. It feels like ledge under there.
Grab a screwdriver and undo these. A couple of them.
Isn't going to go much. Let's just see if we can get it a little bit first before we undo anything.
want me to up here and wash off from the road when the other
You can, if he's gonna show right up, yeah.
He was getting loaded. I heard him on the radio getting loaded when I was coming.
Okay, thank you.
Get anything like the way.
No, I was worried about the bottom is the top.
Yeah.
That's gonna be all buried. Is there any way you can go right here and just...
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah. Still out a little bit.
Yeah.
Wanna break. Yeah. I gotta. That's pretty common when someone else sets up your slab. A lot of times they don't understand just how many kickers to put in. This guy actually did a pretty good job with the kickers. He got it braced off pretty good, but you know, whenever you pour edges that thick, there's a lot of pressure on those edges. They always want to push the forms out a little bit. So it's not uncommon to have to stick another one in here or there and everywhere. We didn't have to put too many in on this one. I think that was it for this slab. Getting back to the cost. So 576 square feet. The builder did all the prep work here. So he set the forms, he put in the styrofoam. So basically he saved himself, you know, $5 a square foot. And that came to, let's figure that out, 576 times 5 equals that, $2,880. But he had to buy the styrofoam, right? And he had to buy the rebar. So $2,880 was the total cost. But the styrofoam, you know, when I figure styrofoam, I usually figure about $1.50 a square foot is my cost, and then I figure another $1.50 to install it. But so 576 times $1.50 is about $860. So, you know, all in all, he saved himself about $2,000 getting this formed up by himself and putting in the styrofoam. So that's not too bad for a 24 by 24 garage. I mean, that's not huge, but saving yourself a couple grand, you know, and knowing how to do the work. And he forms these up very similar to how I teach in the concrete underground. So if you want to learn how to form, you know, your own garage slab or something, you can either get my concrete slab course. That's a whole separate course, teaches you how to do concrete slabs like this from start to finish. Or you could join the concrete underground, and in the concrete underground, my slab course is included in that with all kinds of other concrete trainings. So either way, it'll teach you how to do a concrete slab like this, between the forming, the pouring, and the finishing and all that. Gives you a really good idea. And if any of that would help save you $2,000, it would definitely be worth the admission price, if you know what I mean, right there. So as far as money goes, you know, being able to do just a small part of this, or a third of it basically, saves him a couple K. All right, second truck showed up. He was about 15 minutes behind the first truck, so there's a little bit of a wait there. First load setting up pretty good already. We can feel it, so there's going to be a little bit of a joint there, but not enough where it's really going to affect us. Again, we after we got that first truck dumped out, got the edges all magged, noticed he didn't quite go halfway. We decided, because there's a little bit of play in this, we dropped the grade down just a little bit. And as you can see, after we got it treated, I don't know if we're still quite halfway. I bet it would be close if we dragged all that extra crete that's hanging down there and put it right at halfway. I think it'd be really close. This joint right here in the 2x is halfway, so it would be really close. Anyway, and that's with dropping it down about a half inch. So we'll see if this second truck does it. If it doesn't, we'll have to, I mean, we ain't getting any more. We'll have to make it work somehow, see what happens. So another thing I want to talk about is code enforcement. Now, we run into all different types of code enforcement, and depending on what town we're working in that day. We basically work in a different town every single day of the week, you know, and then we come back to the same towns over and over again. But most of our pours are within about 40 to 50 to 60 miles from the shop, so at least an hour from the shop is pretty common for us. So we get to experience pouring in a lot of different towns and working with a lot of different code enforcement officers. Now this town, this is what he required for just a simple basic single story garage slab. Now if you ask me, having done slabs for over 40 years, and a lot of these 2-car garage slabs like this is like really overkill for just a simple 2-car garage that's going to hold, you know, basically just a couple cars or a light pickup truck. This floor is really over designed for that. Not that that's a bad thing, but my point is, like, is the code enforcement officer costing the owners a heck of a lot more money than they really need to pay just to get a garage slab? That's what my point is. And personally, in my experience, these last few years where some of these codes have just gone crazy, they are. I mean, years ago, we would do just a simple 6-inch slab here. No, the edges didn't need to be thicker. As long as you had a really good gravel base under this, a 6-inch slab is going to be plenty strong enough for any single story garage, whether it's 2x4 wall, 2x6 wall, with just basic, basic trusses for a roof. So single story, just driving cars in, the 6 inches of concrete on a really good, well compacted gravel base that could be, in Maine, we could have a gravel base here that's 2 feet thick, 2 feet of really 3/4 inch crushed gravel, compacted really hard, and then a slab that goes over it like this that's only 6 inches thick was very common for years and years up here in Maine, and with never any problems. We did a ton of those. Still put a couple rows of rebar around the edges. Usually before we even had fiber mesh, we were always putting wire mesh in there. But now you look at the codes and you got these super thick edges, like this one here was, they were 12 inches deep, they were 2 feet wide, and then they tapered up into the slab another 3 feet to the 6 inches. So there's a ton of concrete around the edges. Like, that's way overkill for a simple little garage like this, in my opinion. But I mean, if you're going to make people pay it, and they want to pay it, I guess, you don't have a choice if it's code, right? So they make that into a code, and then the code enforcement officer, for whatever reason, sometimes what we run into here in Maine, I don't know if you guys run into this, but the code enforcement officer will even go above and beyond the code, and he'll kind of like make up his own stuff just to enforce his power, is what it seems like. And sometimes, like in a case like this, I feel like that's what's happened here. Like, you don't need to spend that much extra money on concrete just to get a simple 2-car garage slab, as well as making the owner put styrofoam under the slab. Like this slab doesn't need styrofoam under it, but the code requires it. So why? Why does the code require it? It's just basically, in Maine, it's just they want insulated garage slabs for, heat savings. Well, what if you're not going to heat the garage? And this garage isn't attached to a house or nothing like that. So what if it's just a separate garage shop that's non-heated? What do you need to insulate the floor for, is what my question is. So why spend $1.50 to $2 a square foot to buy the styrofoam, and then if you're going to hire somebody like me to install it, then you're going to have to pay another $1.50 a square foot for me to install it. So you're spending an extra $1,500 to $2,000 just to get insulation under this slab. And honestly, I think that's crazy. Now, would I put it under myself? Yeah, probably. If I was going to heat my garage, I probably would. It's probably going to, in the long run, keep the floor a little bit warmer. Maybe I'd even put radiant heat in the floor. If I was putting radiant heat in the concrete, then you're definitely going to want to have styrofoam under there. But for some people, they just want a garage shop, nothing fancy, just something to put a car in, maybe a snowmobile or a tractor, not going to be heated. And for something like that, this is way overkill. So code enforcement, to me, really, in some cases, makes homeowners pay a lot extra money. I don't know. What do you guys think?
All right, huh?
Alright, so what I'm going to do is, just to get off this hard joint versus the wet stuff, make sure that gets bull floated down good and flat. I'm going to add just a little bit of weight to the bull float. We do that, you can do that easily with just a couple metal pins like this. That's just going to help give you a little extra weight on something that's setting up. Feels pretty normal today.
Yep.
Wonder if it was that water reducer.
Let's see what
So if you're looking for ways to save money with your own concrete slab, I just wanted to show you and tell you what this builder did. We've done 3 or 4 slabs for this builder in the last couple of years, and he set up all his slabs like this. Just calls us in, says, Mike, you know, I just need you to come in, pour it, finish it, and then you know, I'll take care of the rest. I'll set the forms, I'll strip them. And I just want to be able to save a little money that way. So that's what we've done for him over the years. Alright, so that's going to do it for the pour. Darren and Luke will stay here. They'll power trowel, they'll saw it. Right now they're putting in some anchor bolts for the builder. Got 2 garage doors. You can kind of see where those red lines are. Got a 9-foot door there, another 9-foot door here. And I think he's got a 3-foot door over there, so we'll just make sure we don't put any anchor bolts in those areas. Other than that, it's pretty basic garage slab. 24-24, 6-inch thick, 12-inch thick edges. Nice haunch slab, styrofoam under it, and you know, we'll pull the strings down when we go to finish, but everything stayed in place pretty good. The guy did a good job forming it, bracing it. That's what we like, makes our job easier. So we'll see you on the next one, guys. Alright, so if you're looking to save some money like this guy did, there's the link for the Concrete Underground is in the show more section or the description of the video below, as well as the link for the concrete slab course. Either one of them will get you to what you see right here as far as forming and, you know, being able to install 2 inches of styrofoam if you have to do that. But the link for those are down below. Check them out, and thanks for watching.